Okay, join me today to talk all things health, fitness and weight loss is a very smart man indeed. Dr. Nick Fuller from Sydney University, Charles Perkins facility. He's written a great book, if you haven't read it, Interval Weight Loss for Life. There's also Interval Weight Loss, mate. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks very much.
Mate, good to see you. I always say to people, if you've got a fat doctor, find yourself a new doctor.
Well, that's a good way to look at it, definitely.
And mate, you're super fit yourself.
Yeah, well, I try to practice what I preach.
Yeah.
I mean, it's important to do that all the time. It's no point in getting a message out if you're not looking after yourself.
Yeah.
So I'm putting that interval weight loss message into play, every second of my life.
And tell us about the interval weight loss method.
Well, I've been lucky enough to work at this facility, the University of Sydney and Royal Prince Alfred Hospital. We have a big obesity clinic where we're seeing thousands of patients each year. And sadly, we were finding the same thing every time. It didn't matter what weight loss program we put them on, what diet we put them on. People would always return back to where they started, back to their set point, or that weight that we're most comfortable being at.
Yeah.
And we've been led to believe that it's that due to that lack of willpower and the fact that we keep going back to where we started was because we went back to our old ways. But that's not often the case, and it couldn't be further from the truth. I mean, the body's very smart. It will protect itself every single time as part of that fight or flight response. And these biological protections are in place to make sure we do go back to that starting point.
So how do we hack into, I suppose, breaking that starting point?
Well, one of the wonderful things that we found was when you impose brakes along your journey, you actually prevent those biological protections kicking into gear.
Right.
So, you sort of follow a weight loss month. Then you impose a break, a weight maintenance break. And then you follow another weight loss month. And so on until you get to your goal weight. And that is the way to prevent you going back to your set point or that weight you remember being at for a long period of time.
That's great theory, and a lot of people, and method, and a lot of people I deal with always complain about the fact they lose a lot of weight and then they stall. But that's just the natural part of a weight loss journey, isn't it?
It is, and it's so common. I mean, about 96% of people are actually failing. And we know people can lose weight. That's the easy part. The hard part is actually preventing it. And fewer than 5% are sort of getting through that gate and succeeding lifelong, and actually being able to keep that weight off for more than 5 years. So you've got one thing to lose the weight, but you've got to set yourself up for lifelong success.
With habits and consistency is a big thing, isn't it?
It is. You've got to be committed to changing that identity, who you are, and and thinking, what is it that I want out of this journey? Improved health, obviously, and often weight loss is a secondary outcome because 2 in 3 people are now struggling with their weight.
Yeah. And you think a lot of the weight loss battle is between the ears for people? Psychologically?
It is. It's a huge component of it, but we know that you can retrain the brain. It's a part of that interval weight loss message, so that people know how to move away from those addictive-like processed foods, which trigger those, responses in the brain saying, "Oh, I want that food." Next time we see it, we're like, it lights up this part of the hypothalamus, a very smart part of the brain. But you can get that same pleasure response from nature's foods and nature's wonders. So, you can reconnect that wiring between the brain, strengthen it over time so that those processed foods aren't part of your day-to-day eating habits.
So you're obviously very fit yourself. What's a day for you look like?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of variety. I mean, I'm lucky that I can work in a lot of corporate health, obviously the hospital clinic, teaching our new generation students at the university, and also families and their kids, and then translating important messages that we do there. So it's one thing to do the research, but then you've got to get it out to the population, which is what interval weight loss is achieving.
Yeah, good stuff. So how do you start your day normally?
I'd get up and definitely start with breakfast because that is the most important meal of the day.
It is,
It
isn't
sets
it?
you up for
100%.
success. The concentration and alertness should be your biggest and most important meal. Sitting down to a balance, a bit of everything, so it's not just your carbs or your protein. Have a balanced meal. Then it depends. If the work routine's not starting later on, then I'll probably exercise and get it in when I can. I'll plan that week accordingly. If I know that the afternoons are going to be busy and I'm not going to have time to exercise, I'll do it in the mornings. Or the lunchtime or the afternoon. I work around, but that is always my number one priority.
So what would be exercise for you? What's your preferred exercise?
Well, I've always had a passion for athletics and track and field and hurdles in particular. It's just something that I love. Some people love going to the gym, others love to go to the park, whatever it might be. But a lot of sprints, a lot of endurance training, training with friends and buddies, and getting enjoyment out of that as well, and that social connection.
So you think that's a big hack in itself, social connection and finding something you're passionate about?
Definitely. If you can find someone that you enjoy exercising with, you're more likely to stick to that activity. But also, you know, you bounce ideas off one another, you have fun together, and you look forward to going to do that session. Look, it's not always going to be easy exercise. Sometimes you've got to stress the body and do a little bit different to what you're used to, but importantly, you have to do it every day.
Do it every day. And speaking of food, once again, balance is a big thing that you touch upon. So what's your tips there for people with diets?
Well, the biggest thing with the interval weight loss message is don't exclude foods, don't exclude food groups. You can eat everything and anything. Sure, during the weight loss months, we need to focus on reducing the processed food, the takeaway food, the dining out, but there's no reason or no evidence to say we should be cutting out foods. The whole no fat, no sugar, no carb movements, you know, they're not evidence based. And you will stick to them for short term, but you're not going to get long term gain out of them. So you can have everything and anything, but it's about focusing on foods that we know, you know, are not processed, coming from their natural raw state. And the other message is too, it's actually about eating more. We've been led to think that deprivation is the way to go, restrict the body, but it's far too smart. It will slow down when you do that. So eat plenty of food, but you've got to eat from those foods that aren't coming from a packet. Your fruits, your vegetables, whole grain breads and cereals, and you know, your lean meats, etc.
That's a great advice. And then with people who obviously like to indulge in a little bit of a beverage here and there.
Oh, absolutely.
What's your advice there with people with alcohol?
Well, we know that you should enjoy alcohol as part of your, you know, day-to-day plan. You need to have a couple of days a week where you're not having something, but you can enjoy a drink a day. There's no doubt about that. The problem is the Australian culture in particular, we tend to have a very large self-pour, so we've got to keep that pour to sort of a little bit lower. But yeah, enjoy.
Interesting. I really believe in everything that you talk about. Extremism, I think that's probably the main reason a lot of people fail. They go the all or nothing approach.
That's right.
With your approach, it's about being sensible, isn't it?
It is, and I think you've got to be committed to change. If you don't commit yourself to change, it's going to be hard to really, you know, get the result you're after. But we know that this is evidence-based in that you're going to prevent the weight regain. And it's also going to clear up all those misconceptions that we're told every day of the week. You know, there are new diets hitting the shelves all the time, and often we're led to believe that that's the next magic bullet, but it's not the case. We should stop buying into it because we want to set ourselves up for long-term success and do something to reverse this obesity epidemic.
It's hard for people, isn't it? There's so many new diets coming out, new fads. How do they sort through all the BS? It's tough.
Well, it is very tough. That's, you know, what we're trying to do at the university, get messages out through the media all the time. We have a lot more work to do with the government, so we can set up appropriate resources so people know where and who to go to get help.
So what's your tip for someone out there, to, I suppose, to see what is full of crap and what's not?
Well, look, 99% of the information that you're reading, unfortunately, we're getting it from the internet. It's not evidence-based.
Or influencers.
It's influencers, that's right. Social media, it's in the palm of our hands every day of the week, 24/7, from all over the globe. You know, we're buying into these people, but often they don't know anything about health and the complexities of certain diseases like obesity, which really is a disease that needs to be treated like a disease. Just like we treat cancer a disease, obesity is just as serious. I mean, you'll get great information from this translational research, Interval Weight Loss. And then the second book, this one here, Interval Weight Loss for Life, is supposed to give them a practical guide so they can succeed in the comforts of their own home. They don't need to go to a hospital clinic. They don't need to see a healthcare professional to succeed. And we know that because we have put it into the community.
Into practice. So everything's evidence-based.
That's right.
Obviously, a lot of people struggle with appetite, but they're probably not realising a big part of being hungry is a lack of sleep. What's your tips for people with sleep?
Definitely. Sleep's one of the biggest and most important aspects of our lifestyle. If you don't get good sleep, you wake up feeling tired and you go through that usual bad habits or bad behaviours that you've been doing for decades. So, I mean, a very simple one is obviously exercise. We know it improves sleep quality. You need to get it in every day. Just enjoy it for what it is. And the second one needs to be no technology, no blue lights before twilight. So when you go to sleep, don't go anywhere near technology.
Great tip. And stress is obviously a big thing. A lot of people emotionally eat. What's your advice around that?
Well, we talk about, you know, the brain plasticity and how you can actually change the wiring in the brain. Well, that's one thing. We can retrain the brain, so we're staying clear of processed and packaged foods. But the second one is, you know, we need to keep ourselves distracted on good behaviours and good activities, especially those week times of the day when we get home from work, we sit down in front of the TV, we've got to find something constructive to do. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's away from that environment where you usually associate yourself with eating.
Okay, so a good hack there, I suppose, is out of sight, out of mind. Don't have the crap food in the house to start with.
Definitely.
And if you are a guy that likes to watch the footy and always think you need a pie and a beer to do it, change that habit.
Try and change the habit. Look, you can watch the footy, maybe get on the bike, mix up what you're doing. It's all about breaking habits and breaking routines.
Yeah, great stuff. Fast 5 questions for you, Matt. What's your favourite healthy food?
Favourite healthy food? Well, I mean, there's a lot of them. I'm a sucker for fruit, getting that, you know, that pleasure from fruit.
So that's your sweet treat?
That's my sweet treat.
Yeah, a lot of people think that fruit's bad for them, but it's
No, it's not. It's that misconception. Fruit is great for us. It contains naturally occurring sugars, and you know, it's going to trigger those responses in the brain that we get from all of those other addictive foods.
And mate, if you are going to treat yourself to something that's probably a little bit naughty, what would that be?
Oh, it's got to be pizza. I love the Italian cuisine. I'll sit down and eat pizza breakfast, lunch and dinner and gelato, and I've just returned from a lovely trip overseas and I pretty much replicated that.
And was the pizza and gelato just as good overseas?
A lot better.
Yeah. And what's your favourite pizza topping?
Oh, I mean, I could sit down to anything. Honestly, any pizza, as long as you put it in front of me. Yeah. As long as it's not too cheesy. Yeah. I love it. Yeah.
And exercise, mate, what's your go-to for exercise?
Oh, I love a bit of high-intensity training. Getting out into the grass and feeling that grass and the blades of grass underneath the feet. Barefoot running.
How good's that?
Doing some sprints, walking back, sprint, walk, sprint, walk.
Awesome. And you had a great tip around finding a great social connection as well when you train to exercise?
Yeah, I mean, that's important. If you can find buddies or people that you train with, colleagues, doesn't matter who it is. Yeah. If you love being around them and you can get something from that social connection, you're also going to enjoy the activity. You're going to stick to it, and that's the most important thing. And sleep's a big part of weight loss. People don't realise how important it is. It dictates a lot of our hormones, from ghrelin to leptin, hunger and appetite. What's your tip to get better sleep? Well, it is. It's probably one of the most important aspects of leading a healthy lifestyle. We know exercise is important for helping with falling to sleep and getting better sleep quality, because sleep quality is the most important thing, especially in the tight, time-poor environment these days. But secondly, don't switch on technology before you're going to bed. So there's no blue light after twilight. Keep away from it. And again, it's going to help you fall to sleep quicker.
Great tip. And lastly, for someone that's struggling to get motivated to start their health journey, what's your advice?
Well, we've been lucky that we've been able to translate this important message, Interval Weight Loss for Life, from the University of Sydney. It's clearing up a lot of misconceptions around health, wellness, weight loss. It's also helping a person on their weight loss journey so that you know where to go to get evidence-based help.
So find evidence-based help.
Definitely.
That's the tip. Thank you so much, Doctor.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thanks, mate.
Yeah.